So let's see how many of you can guess this movie.
What are you doing out here? I'm lost.
A broke, desperate hustler with zero ethics stumbles into a trade built entirely on profiting from human tragedy.
I like this.
Realizing that someone else's bad day is his payday, he outmaneuvers his rivals and exploits the system to build an absolute monopoly. As his schemes escalate, he transforms a human nightmare into a massive public spectacle,
Robin Jackson created that.
ultimately serving up a friend on a silver platter.
You're crazy.
To secure the top spot. Now tell me, which movie am I describing? If you're a film buff, you're probably screaming at your screen right now. It's 2014's masterpiece, Nightcrawler.
My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket.
Or if you're well versed in recent Indian cinema, you might say no, that is the plot of the brilliant 2022 Malayalam dark comedy, Mukundan Unni Associates.
Wow. Kavita pole.
But you'll both be wrong. Or should I say, only partially right. Because before Lou ever hunted the neon streets of Los Angeles, and before Unni ever chased ambulances through the corridors of Kerala, there was Chuck Tatum, who was already searching for human tragedies for his media circus.
Bad news sells best, because good news is no news.
The movie I was actually describing is Ace in the Hole, released in 1951. Similar to Unni and Lou, Chuck Tatum, after falling from grace, gets stuck in a small town.
Mr. Boot, I'm a $250 a week newspaper man.
He is a journalist who, out of sheer desperation to claw his way back to the top, manipulates a tragedy involving a human life.
Maybe 84 men trapped inside.
But the mid-century moral landscape demanded and craved his destruction.
Easy, Leo, they'll get you out.
So Billy Wilder made him empathetic towards that man,
I'm your pal.
who eventually calls him his friend.
And now you're my friend. I guess you're my best friend.
Leo Minosa is dead.
His death collapses the scheme and he gets stabbed by his wife, before ending his journey as a bleeding corpse on a wooden floor. That human cost
Now go on home, all of you.
broke him.
Circus is over.
But not Dan Gilroy. His Lou Bloom ends his film victorious,
Congratulations.
standing in front of a fleet of company vans, training a fresh batch of young interns, ready to get exploited by him.
What if my problem wasn't that I don't understand people, but that I don't like them?
He beats the system from the outside, giving us a contemporary monster in the process, who never regrets a single thing.
You filmed him dying.
Abhinav Sunder Nayak takes this exact character archetype in 2022 to a terrifying logical evolution.
ഈ ലോകത്ത് രണ്ട് തരം ആളുകളേ ഉള്ളൂ.
Unni starts as a pathetic, briefless assistant lawyer,
ചൂഷണം ചെയ്യുന്നവരും ചൂഷണം ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നവരും.
but builds an insurance monopoly over human accidents,
ഞാനിതിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ കാറ്റഗറി ആവാൻ തീരുമാനിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്.
purchasing the very hospital that anchors his crime, and thus becoming the head of the medical institution himself.
മോണോപ്പൊളി അത് വേണ്ട വക്കീലേ.
These are all the same train.
ഡോക്ടർ,
They are just running on a different route.
വെൽക്കം ടു മുകുന്ദൻ ഉണ്ണി അസോസിയേറ്റ്സ്.
Ace in the Hole asked a fundamental question more than half a century ago.
I've only one chance to get back where I belong.
What happens when society turns human tragedy into a public circus for profit?
Everybody wants to see how you look. And I'm going to write a story. They want to know all about you. They'll be pulling for you.
Nightcrawler updated it for the 21st century. What happens when television news demands graphic horror
You gotta call the cops.
to feed its corporate ratings?
And we will, at the right time.
And Mukundan Unni Associates updates it yet again for an Indian landscape. What happens when an entire interconnected legal, medical and bureaucratic ecosystem profits of human trauma?
ബോധമില്ലാത്തവൻ്റെ നിന്ന് വക്കാലത്ത് വാങ്ങുന്നതിനൊരു സുഖമുണ്ട്.
But ever since Mukundan Unni Associates was released, a big minority on the internet immediately pounced on it,
അത് ഫോർജറിയാണ്. പഠിച്ചാൽ പിന്നെ കരിയർ തീർന്നു.
labeling the film a flat derivative copy-paste job of Nightcrawler.
That was quick and unexpected.
Calling it a rip-off or a copy that truly is heartbreaking for me. It actually broke my heart when people started saying that. So that's the reason for my anger.
The obvious similarity in structural beats made some of them take it upon themselves and hurt the reputation of a debut director, framing his work as counterfeit. Sure, if we perform a structural autopsy on both films, the core comparison is undeniable.
I have dreams.
An ambitious, socially detached sociopath
Who am I? I'm a hard worker.
enters a morally compromised, highly transaction professional, keeps escalating his crime to stay ahead of the curve,
പകുതി ഞാനെടുത്തു, പകുതി വക്കീലെടുത്തു.
destroys his mentor or primary professional rival.
Why compete? We can work together.
To win the absolute validation and systematic dominance, he ends up killing his best friend or employee. But I want to ask them a fundamental question. Why do they keep mistaking a shared skeleton for a stolen identity? Because for me, skeleton is not an identity. It's a mere architecture that holds up the flesh. And now that you know the film history,
Just one good beat. A Tatum special.
you know that Nightcrawler borrowed something too.
When I say that I want these things,
Dan Gilroy didn't invent this structure out of thin air.
I mean that I want them.
It just modernized Billy Wilder's engine.
I don't make things happen. All I do is write about them.
When Lou Bloom is in itself a beautifully constructed collage of cinematic influence. It draws heavy breath from the legendary street photographer VG, the alienating psychological horror of Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, the corporate media satire of Sidley Lumet's Network, and the cynical character study of 70s New Hollywood. Yet nobody walked away from Nightcrawler calling it a cheap, unoriginal ripoff. Why? Unfortunately, the same critical generosity is rarely extended to brilliant filmmakers working outside of the Hollywood studio system.
The internet can create narratives.
It can create,
and that narrative is very permanent now.
When a Western filmmaker remixes their influence, it is praised as a homage. But when our local filmmaker does the same, it is dismissed as a knockoff.
How dramatic and predictable.
There is a tendency of our brains to naturally notice the newest and the loudest influences. We often ignore the quieter regional ones because most of us haven't seen them.
Thank you, man. I'm trying. You know?
So tell me, how much localization and transformation has to take place before a piece feels totally original?
Which is why I'm promoting you.
Because you see, Mukundan and Unni Associates had a second, even bigger influence. Because as you all know, great work rarely comes together all at once. They usually start with one idea, then another, but turning it all into something coherent is something we all struggle with. And that's where Odoo comes in. It's an all-in-one business management platform that helps you organize your business with their suite of 45 plus apps. And Odoo's project management app helps you keep everything on track. You can set up a project with customized steps and milestones, breaking even the most complex of projects into manageable, trackable pieces. And because it's integrated with other Odoo apps, it automates most of the tedious work. The different views makes it much easier to know what's happening. For example, the Kanban view shows every task as a card across different stages, while the Gantt chart gives you a bird's eye view of the entire project. So you can instantly see who's working on what and their timelines. And with the help of timesheets, you can record the hours worked on each task, and multiple team members can log their hours, all from one place. The best part is that your first app is free for life, and if you want more, you can access the full suite of apps starting at just Rs 580 per month per user. So check out Odoo using the link in the description. It supports the channel, which helps me keep performing these autopsies. Now back to that massive second influence. It's a regional cinematic baseline that completely recontextualizes our argument. It's a Malayalam film released in 1993 called Vakeel Vasudev. It also follows a lawyer whose entire career operates within the highly specialized legal niche of road accidents.
Criminal lawyer, civil lawyer,
Sounds familiar? That's the exact profession that Unni follows.
ശരിയാണ്.
But the connection goes deeper than just the sheer premise. Take a close look at the actor playing the chief judge. He is played by none other than Jagdish, the same actor who played the character of Vakeel Vasudev in the 1993 film.
This is getting complicated.
Whether this casting choice was intentional or stroke of cosmic luck, it is symbolic and cinematically perfect. If I had to guess, Abhinav was always intentional. It represents a profound nod towards the cinema he grew up on. And if it was an accidental coincidence, it is even more poetic. Modern Malayalam cinema is actively having a conversation with its own creative past. While Nightcrawler provides Mukundan Unni the overarching structure, the psychological pacing of the sociopathic rise, Vakeel Vasudev provides it the highly localized ecosystem.
ആക്സിഡന്റ് വക്കീൽ ആക്സിഡന്റിൽ പെട്ട് തന്നെ ചാവണം.
Abhinav didn't import the streets of Los Angeles into Kerala.
കാവ്യനീതി.
He looked at the pre-existing realities of the Indian legal framework and mapped the skeleton on it. This is what true inspiration looks like.
And why you pursue something is equally as important as what you pursue.
It isn't duplication, it's an act of translation. That is precisely how great writers operate. They merge dissipated ideas to see what sparks.
It's working.
Originality was never meant inventing everything from absolute zero. It always meant inventing a brand new, unexpected combination of things that nobody else would have thought to bring together. This divergence also highlights the core difference between the two works.
കേസ് വേണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിലേ നീ ആദ്യം ഒരു വക്കീലിനെ പോലെ ഡ്രസ്സപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ പഠിക്കും.
While Nightcrawler on the surface is an indictment of modern media machine,
Morning news, if it bleeds, it leads.
a machine that has now become the very nightmare Billy Wilder envisioned 75 years earlier.
Will you get the camera out of my face?
It's also a commentary on the nature of the medium it occupies.
We find our viewers are more interested in urban crime.
By going after this, the short fetish of Lou, Dan Gilroy, by authorship, is commenting on the nature of cinema.
Bloody.
How real life is usually a mess.
Well, graphic.
There are hardly any divine structures to it. But us humans, or to be precise, storytellers, tamper with it
I'm focusing on framing.
to create a larger meaning, which most of the time doesn't exist.
A proper frame not only draws the eye into a picture, but keeps it there longer, dissolving the barrier between the subject and the outside of the frame.
And this power to move people, when used without caution, when it's in the wrong hands, it could lead to devastating results.
I like to say that if you're seeing me, you're having the worst day of your life.
Mukundan Unni Associates doesn't try to parallel any of this. And rightly so. It's Dan bringing his own personality to it. But what it does go after is something that Billy Wilder was also interested in Ace in the Hole.
Cut it out, Chuck. We're all in the same boat. I'm in the boat. You're in the water.
Look at the sprawling roster of the systematic corruption Unni has to navigate through. And by extension, us countrymen have to go through. Every single day. There are overpriced private hospitals caused by the black money from local politicians. Then there is corrupt police infrastructure, corrupt insurance managers, the state judiciary and court peons, ambulance drivers, media receptionists,
Shraddhapurvam manipulate ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
and the list goes on and on.
I like this.
The narrative, rather than staying on a profession like accident lawyers, reveals the rot in the entire system. It's a built-in feature of Indian democracy itself.
Nepotism. I'll fight this.
And it's no way more apparent than how the women who choose to partner with these sociopathic men validates their horrific successful rise. Unni's cunning wife, Meenakshi, delivers a chilling defense of her husband.
ഈ ലോകത്തിലെ ഏറ്റവും സക്സസ്ഫുൾ ആയ ആളുകളെ വക്കീൽ ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അവരൊക്കെ ആ പൊസിഷനിലെത്തിയത് ഈ ഹാർഡ് വർക്കും പെർസിവറൻസും ഡെഡിക്കേഷനും കൊണ്ട് മാത്രമാണെന്ന് വക്കീലിന് തോന്നുന്നുണ്ടോ?
Admiring his lethal methods to his old girlfriend. In Nightcrawler, Nina rejects an employee's moral concerns about the things they were showing to their citizens.
It wasn't a home invasion, it was a drug robbery.
And its ethical implication. But she rebrands Lou's psychotic bloodlust as a corporate mantra,
Jesus, you sound like Lou.
stating that Lou is simply
Inspiring all of us to reach a little higher.
The abrupt cut to Lou quietly watering a plant in his apartment is a brilliant piece of silent visual subtext.
Why hire you?
Before meeting Rick,
Sell yourself.
his eventual assistant,
Go.
he isn't showing a hidden capacity for tenderness or taking care of nature. He is manipulating a tool.
Jesus Christ. Friends don't pressure friends to fucking sleep with them.
He's systematically cultivating, manipulating, using, which will eventually destroy his assistant.
A friend is a gift you give yourself.
And that is exactly why this sequence in Mukundan Unni hit a beautiful cinematic note with me. After his mother falls from a ladder, Unni captures the venomous snake
Wow.
that caused the accident and locks it in a room. He doesn't kill it out of revenge. He feeds it. He keeps it alive as a business asset, waiting to be cashed in at the right time. And that time eventually presents itself as he uses it to eliminate his competitor. A metaphorical plant feeds into a literal serpent. Ace in the Hole too uses a similar method,
Wasting your time on a rattlesnake hunt.
but it more so equates its protagonist, Chuck Tatum, with the rattlesnake.
I'm a pretty good liar.
What started in 1951 with Chuck manipulating one story
Done a lot of lying in my time.
turned into Lou manipulating public perception.
Steady hands. Use the zoom. No fast pans.
And finally, Unni manipulates an entire ecosystem. As you can see, this isn't a case of one film mindlessly copying another. This is biological cultural evolution. The newest organism in a creative ecosystem naturally inherits structural genes from his multiple cinematic ancestors,
ഒന്നാം സാക്ഷി, രണ്ടാം സാക്ഷി.
mutating them to survive in a brand new environment. Once you understand that films evolve the exact same way languages do, borrowing their underlying grammar from one historical source, their modern vocabulary from second source, their hyper-local idioms from a third source, the conversation changes completely. You can stop asking the lazy, superficial questions of who copied whom. Instead, we can start asking the real illuminating question. What new conversation is this specific film trying to have with the world? The problem is people nowadays are trying to demean a film just because they know its lineage or the films that inspired it.
But it's frustrating when people talk about it online, when people comment on my tweets and comment on my Instagram posts and social media posts, and they talk shit about my film.
It's no longer a way to dive deep into the minds of its maker, and more so a way to think of themselves higher than them. Fan wars are fought over it, negative PRs are run on it. They are slowly sucking the life out of film discourse in our country. So I hope you all will have some empathy before taking part in those conversations. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe my channel. Thank you and have a nice day.